Have you ever had that quiet moment, maybe late at night, maybe first thing in the morning, when you look at yourself and think, I'm not the same person I used to be? You can feel it. Something in you has shifted. The things that used to excite you don't hit the same way. The music you once had on repeat now feels like noise. The places you used to go every weekend feel smaller somehow. And sometimes, the people you used to spend every waking moment with suddenly feel distant. But instead of feeling relieved, instead of feeling proud that you are growing, you feel a strange heaviness in your chest. You feel scared. You feel guilty. You almost feel like you're doing something wrong just by changing. No one talks about how lonely growth can feel. No one tells you that becoming the next version of yourself often means saying goodbye to who you were, and that saying goodbye can feel like a little death. We think of growth as this exciting thing, but most of the time it feels like loss. And maybe this is where you are right now. You know deep down you can't stay the same. You've outgrown the job, the habits, the identity that once defined you, but a part of you keeps hesitating. A part of you whispers, if you change, will you still recognize yourself? Will other people still accept you? Will they call you fake? Will they say you've changed too much? So you stay where it's safe. You keep wearing clothes that don't fit. You keep smiling at jokes that don't make you laugh. You keep showing up to places where your soul feels smaller and smaller each time. And then you wonder why you feel restless, why you feel stuck, why you feel like something in you is screaming for more. Here's the thing. You are not broken for feeling this way. You are not lost. This is what growth feels like. This is what evolution feels like. And outgrowing the person you used to be does not mean you are betraying them. In fact, it might be the most loving thing you can do for yourself. Because you are not here to live the same story forever. You are here to grow, to shed old skins, to rewrite yourself again and again until you find the truest version of who you are. And today, I want to walk with you through this process. I want us to talk about why we fear outgrowing ourselves so much, why we cling to old identities even when they are crushing us, and how to finally let go and step into the person you are becoming. This is going to be a conversation about fear, about guilt, about grief, but also about freedom. By the end of this, I hope you can see that the next chapter of your life is waiting for you. And it is so much better than staying stuck in a chapter that has already ended. Let's be honest. There is something strangely comforting about the old you, isn't there? Even if that version of you was hurting, even if they were unhappy, even if they were lost, they are familiar. And familiarity feels safe. You know how they think. You know how they act. You know what they would say in any situation. And even though that version of you might have been full of pain, they were predictable. And our brains love predictability. The mind is built to keep us safe, and safety often looks like staying the same. That is why the moment you start to change, your brain panics. It says, wait, we've never done this before. What if this new version of us gets rejected? What if we make a mistake? What if this isn't actually better? So it pulls you back to what you know. It pulls you back to your old habits, your old patterns, your old life. Not because that's where you belong, but because that's where it feels comfortable. Think about it. How many times have you stayed in a relationship long after you knew it wasn't right for you, just because the thought of starting over was scarier than staying unhappy? How many times have you kept a job you hated because at least you knew how to do it? At least you knew what to expect every day. The comfort of the old you can feel like a warm blanket. But here's the problem. Sometimes that blanket is heavy. Sometimes it's suffocating. Sometimes it keeps you from breathing fully. And nostalgia makes this even harder to notice. Because when you start to grow, you don't just remember the pain of the old version of you. You also remember the good parts. You remember the friendships, the laughter, the moments that shaped you. And it makes you wonder, am I really ready to let go of all of this? But here's the thing. You are not really letting go of the good moments. You are not erasing them. You are simply saying, "Thank you. I will carry these memories with me, but I cannot stay in this old place anymore." The comfort of the old you is powerful, but it is also a trap if you let it keep you there forever. Just because something feels safe does not mean it is right for you. Just because something feels familiar does not mean it is where you belong. You are allowed to outgrow even the parts of yourself that once felt like home. So now you've noticed that the old version of you feels too small. You know deep down that it's time to grow. But right when you start to move forward, guilt grabs you by the ankle like a chain and yanks you back. You feel guilty for wanting something different. You feel guilty for saying no to people who are used to you saying yes. You feel guilty for not showing up as the same person you used to be. And this guilt is heavy. It makes you question yourself. It makes you wonder, am I being selfish? Am I abandoning the people who were there for me before? Am I ungrateful for what I had? This is what no one tells you. We are trained to feel guilty for changing. From the time we are kids, we are taught that loyalty means staying the same. That consistency is the most important thing about you. That the version of you people first met is the version you should stay forever. But here's the truth. Loyalty to who you used to be is not real loyalty. It's self-abandonment. When you stay small just to keep other people comfortable, you are betraying yourself. When you keep pretending that you still want what you used to want, you're lying to yourself. And eventually, your soul starts to rebel. But guilt doesn't just come from within, it also comes from outside of you. People will notice when you change, some of them will support it, but others, they might not like it. They might say things like, "You've changed." And they don't mean it as a compliment, they mean it as a warning. They want you to feel bad so that you will come back to being the person they liked, the person who didn't set boundaries, the person who didn't outgrow them. And sometimes you give in, not because you don't know what you want, but because you don't want to disappoint anyone. Because the thought of people thinking you've abandoned them feels unbearable. But here's something to sit with. Feeling guilty does not always mean you are doing something wrong. Sometimes guilt is just a sign that you are finally putting yourself first. And you are allowed to put yourself first. You are allowed to grow. You are allowed to choose a life that feels right for you, even if it makes other people uncomfortable. Guilt is not meant to be your guide. It is meant to be your teacher. It shows you where you still feel tied to the old version of yourself. And once you see those invisible chains, you get to decide whether to keep wearing them or finally break free. This is where so many people get stuck. You know you have outgrown the old you. You know that staying the same is making you miserable. But the moment you step forward, it feels like betrayal. You start to wonder, am I leaving them behind? Am I abandoning the friends I used to love, the habits that used to comfort me, the identity I worked so hard to build? It feels like turning your back on your old self. And that can be heartbreaking. Because even if that version of you was struggling, they got you through some of the hardest moments of your life. But here's what I need you to hear. Growing past the person you used to be is not betrayal. It is gratitude in action. You are not erasing that version of you. You are not pretending they never existed. You are saying, thank you. Thank you for surviving what I didn't know how to survive. Thank you for doing the best you could with the tools you had. Thank you for getting me this far. But I cannot stay here anymore. You built the foundation. Now I have to keep building the house. Every version of you is a stepping stone. And the point of a stepping stone is to step forward, not stay frozen in place. If you stay standing on that one stone forever, you never cross the river. And this is where people often confuse growth with betrayal. They think letting go of the old you means rejecting them. But letting go is actually an act of love, because you are giving yourself permission to carry forward the lessons, the wisdom, the strength, without staying stuck in the pain. Imagine if you never allowed yourself to grow past your 5-year-old self. Imagine still trying to fit into that version of you. It would be impossible. And yet, when it comes to emotional or spiritual growth, so many of us try to stay small enough to fit back into the old version of ourselves. You are not betraying your old self by stepping forward. You are fulfilling their purpose. You are taking everything they fought for, everything they endured, and using it to build a better life. And the most beautiful thing is that your old self is not angry about this. They want this for you. They have been waiting for you to take the next step. So instead of thinking of growth as turning your back on the person you used to be, think of it as finally taking them by the hand and saying, "You can rest now. I'll take it from here." This is the part no one really prepares you for. The in-between. The place where you are no longer who you used to be, but not yet fully who you are becoming. And this space is scary. It feels like floating in the dark. It feels like walking into a room with no lights on, reaching out for the walls, wondering if there's even a floor under your feet. You know what you left behind, but you don't know what you're walking toward. And your brain hates this, because the brain loves certainty. It loves labels. It loves knowing who you are and what comes next. But growth doesn't always give you that clarity right away. Growth often asks you to walk first, to trust first, to take the step even before you know where it leads. And that can feel like grief. In many ways, it is grief. Because you are saying goodbye to someone you've known your whole life. Yourself. You might notice yourself missing pieces of the old you. The old laugh, the old dreams, the old routines, even the old problems. You might catch yourself looking back and thinking, maybe it wasn't that bad. Maybe I could just stay who I was a little longer. That's not weakness. That's mourning. Change feels like loss, even when it's good change. You are losing the safety of who you used to be. You are losing the version of yourself who always knew how to act in every situation. And yet, this is where transformation really begins, because the unknown is not empty. The unknown is a space where the next version of you is quietly forming. A version that is wiser, stronger, more aligned with who you truly are. But here's the truth. You won't meet them until you take the leap. You won't meet them while you're standing still, clinging to the old chapter. You meet them when you decide to move forward anyway, even with the fear in your chest, even with your hands shaking. The fear of the unknown is really the fear of becoming, and once you see it that way, you start to understand that the fear is not a sign you're on the wrong path. It's a sign you're stepping into something bigger. Yes, it is scary to leave behind what you know, but staying in the old version of yourself just because it feels familiar is a different kind of scary, the kind that slowly drains the life out of you. At some point, the pain of staying the same will outweigh the fear of the unknown, and when that moment comes, you will know it's time to step forward. So here you are, standing at the edge of the old world, staring into the next one. You've felt the fear, you've carried the guilt, you've mourned the old version of you, and now you have a choice. You can stay where it feels safe. You can keep wearing the clothes that don't fit. You can keep playing small so no one gets uncomfortable. You can keep pretending that the old version of you still fits like a glove, even though deep down you know it doesn't. Or you can step forward. And stepping forward doesn't have to look dramatic. It doesn't have to be a big, cinematic moment where everything changes at once. Sometimes, embracing the new you is as quiet as saying, "I don't do that anymore." As simple as setting a boundary you've been afraid to set. As gentle as choosing a habit that nourishes you instead of drains you. This is what it means to embrace the new you. To stop apologizing for evolving. To stop explaining yourself to everyone who misses the old you. To stop feeling like you owe it to your past to keep living in it. You are allowed to step into a version of yourself that feels truer. And here's something powerful to remember. The people who are meant to be in your life will love this version of you. They won't try to drag you backward. They won't guilt you for growing. They will cheer you on as you take each step forward. The ones who resist, the ones who make you feel bad for changing, that's not your problem to solve. That's theirs. You are not responsible for keeping other people comfortable at the expense of your own growth. If you want, you can even create a small ritual to honor this transition. Write a letter to your old self, thanking them for everything they taught you. Thank them for surviving. Thank them for dreaming the dreams that got you here. And then, when you're ready, let them rest. And once you do, take one small action that represents the new you. Say yes to something that scares you but excites you. Say no to something that drains you. Try something you've been putting off. It doesn't matter how small. What matters is that it's a step toward the life you actually want to live. Because the truth is, there is no version of you that is more authentic than another. Every version of you was real. Every version of you mattered. But this one, the one you're becoming, is the one you have been waiting for. And the moment you finally embrace them, you will feel it. Like taking a deep breath after holding it in for too long. Like finally standing tall after years of hunching over. Like remembering your own name after forgetting it for a while. You deserve to live as the fullest, brightest, most alive version of yourself. Not the version that keeps the peace. Not the version that stays small, just so no one feels threatened. The version that was brave enough to keep growing, even when it hurt. So let this be the moment you stop holding back. Let this be the moment you say, I am done living in yesterday. Let this be the moment you step fully into the person you were always meant to become. Before we wrap this up, I want you to slow down for a moment. Don't rush to the next thing. Don't just nod your head and move on. Take a second to really sit with where you are right now. You are in the middle of a transformation, and transformations aren't always loud or dramatic. Sometimes they are quiet. Sometimes they are just a deep knowing that who you used to be is gone, and who you are becoming is not fully here yet. And that's okay. You don't have to have everything figured out right now. You don't have to have a 5-step plan for the new you. You don't have to be perfect at letting go. Growth is not about rushing. Growth is about allowing. Let yourself feel everything you've been avoiding. The fear, the sadness, the nostalgia, even the excitement hiding underneath it all. Let yourself grieve what you're leaving behind, and let yourself get curious about what's coming next. Because if you rush past this part, you miss the magic. You miss the quiet courage it takes to stay present in the middle of the unknown. This is your moment to breathe, to honor the fact that change takes time, to remember that you are not broken for struggling through it. You are human. And one day, not too far from now, you will look back on this moment and realize this was when everything started to shift. This was the season when you stopped forcing yourself to stay small. This was the season when you started to trust the becoming. So give yourself that grace. Give yourself that patience. The new you is not in a hurry, but they are waiting. And the more you allow yourself to be present right here, the easier it will be to step into them when the time comes. Take a deep breath. Really. Right now. In. Out. Because if you've made it this far, I know something about you. I know you are ready. You wouldn't still be here listening if some part of you wasn't already craving change. And maybe you've been carrying this tension for a while now, knowing you've outgrown your old life, but feeling guilty for moving on. Maybe you've been sitting in rooms that feel too small, smiling at conversations that no longer feel like yours, doing your best to fit into an old version of yourself, just because it's easier than explaining why you've changed. But you don't have to explain. You don't have to apologize. You don't have to keep living a story you've already outgrown. The old you is not your enemy. They are not something to run from or reject. They are the foundation you are standing on right now. They fought battles you never thought you'd survive. They held on when life was heavy. They did their best with what they had. And now, it's your turn to take everything they learned, everything they survived, and go further. To build on top of the life they gave you. To become the person they always wished you could be. You are not abandoning them. You are not betraying them. You are fulfilling their purpose. And yes, it's scary to grow. It's scary to let go. It's scary to step into the unknown. But staying small is its own kind of pain. The kind that slowly eats away at your soul until you can barely recognize yourself. You deserve more than that. You deserve to feel proud of the person you are becoming. You deserve to feel alive again. So this is your invitation. your permission slip, your reminder that you are allowed to rewrite your story. You are allowed to grow out of the old you. You are allowed to step into the next version of your life with your head held high, without guilt, without apology. Because the next chapter of your life is waiting, and it is going to require the updated, expanded, stronger version of you. So stop holding on to what has already ended. Let the old you rest. Step into who you are becoming, fully, unapologetically, completely. You are not abandoning who you were. You are becoming who you were always meant to be. And that is not betrayal. That is freedom.